A very good evening and welcome. This is News First Primetime News here on TV1 and Shakti TV. I'm Ramesh Irugal Bandara.
And I'm Rahna Farooq. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
EU lifts ban on Sri Lankan fish exports.
It is time for up-country Tamil parties, the TNA and the SLMC, to reach a common stance. Statement from Minister Rauf Hakim.
If an executive prime minister is to be appointed through abolishing the executive presidency, then it is President Maithripala Sirisena who should be made executive prime minister. Statement from Dr Don Jhethika.
A village under the Udagammana program will be named after Mahinda Rajapaksa. Statement from Minister Sajid Premadasa.
Criminal dies in Kumbugate, Ibbagamuwa. Police say he committed suicide.
Veteran film director DB Nihal Singer passes away.
Sri Lanka's ratings improve in World Press Freedom Index 2016.
On to the stories in detail now. President Maithripala Sirisena presided over the Sadaham Yatra Poe Day religious program this morning.
The Sadaham Yatra Dhamma sermon for Bak Poya took place at the Sri Shailalaya Rama Historic Temple in Pahalakembia, Poddala in Galle. The President engaged in religious observances upon his arrival and later participated in the Dhamma sermon. Chief incumbent of the temple, Venerable Kimbi Nyana Ratanathera, presented a memento to the President.
Today marks a Bak full moon Poe Day, which also marks Lord Buddha's second visit to Sri Lanka. This Poe Day holds a great significance to Buddhist devotees in Sri Lanka.
5 years after attaining enlightenment, Lord Buddha undertook his second visit to Sri Lanka. The purpose of this visit was to advise the kings Chulodra and Mahodra who were preparing to wage war. The history of the Sasana notes that the Lord Buddha, on reaching Nagadeepa, preached to the Naga tribe and then made them understand the value of peace and averting war between the two kings.
Buddhist
in Nagadeepa celebrated the Bak Poya Day in a very meritorious manner. Lord Buddha visited Sri Lanka on 3 occasions. Firstly to Mahayangaraya, secondly to Nagaviharaya, and then thirdly to Kalani Viharaya. On a day like today, Lord Buddha visited Nagaviharaya. Both Hindus and Buddhists arrived here at the Nagaviharaya to obtain blessings.
On to one of our headline stories. The European Commission announced today that the ban imposed on Sri Lankan fish exports has been lifted. The European Commissioner for Environment, Maritime Affairs and Fisheries, Carmen Ubella, in a statement said that the Commission lifts the red card and associated trade measures of Sri Lanka as it has significantly improved its national fisheries governance.
The European Union attempts to combat illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing irregularities Council Regulation number 1005/2008 and aims to ensure that no illegally caught fisheries products are sold on the European Union market. Thereby, the European Commission issued a yellow card to Sri Lanka for not fulfilling its duties in tackling illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing. In February 2015, the European Commission notified that it had banned all Sri Lankan fish exports into the country in the European Union. Thereafter, several rounds of discussions took place between Sri Lanka and the European Commission, while several measures were in place to ensure that the required standards are met. This evening, the European Commission released a statement on lifting the ban on Sri Lankan fish exports. Extract.
Today's decisions are yet another sign of the EU's determination to fight illegal fishing globally. It also shows that we can bring important players on board. Sri Lanka has now a robust legal and policy framework to fight illegal fishing activities. As a fight against IUU, illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing is part of the EU's commitment towards sustainability and good ocean governance. Each third country that comes on board is an asset.
End of extract. The European Commission says that Sri Lanka has now successfully reformed its fisheries governance system and it has amended its legal framework, strengthened sanctions and improved its fleet control.
Sri Lanka was deprived of receiving a total of 16 billion Sri Lankan rupees annually owing to this EU fishing ban. After this ban is lifted, Sri Lanka will once again be benefited with this 16 billion worth of foreign exports. We would like to say that this will not only benefit the fishing community, but will also reap benefits to the entire country and will aid in future development activities of the country.
The minister also elaborated on changes made to ensure that this ban was lifted.
In order to have this ban lifted, 57 terms and conditions were put forward by the European Union. We had to amend our Fisheries Act thrice. We had to even increase fines. I would also like to state that we have put forward several plans for the future. And also just because this ban was lifted today, we cannot export fish tomorrow. It will take around 2 months for this entire process to fall into place.
The decision taken by the European community will definitely encourage the fisheries industry. And definitely it will very strongly that can impact on the economic development of Sri Lanka. This is a good indication because the next step will be removing the ban to export the garments and other different items which were granted us under the GST plan. So this is a good achievement of the country, and it will definitely make us a positive impact to the Sri Lankan.
A consultative dialogue on preventing ragging in sexual and gender-based violence in universities took place today. The dialogue was organized by the University Grants Commission in collaboration with the Association of Commonwealth Universities.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe graced the occasion and touched on some key points that need to be addressed.
Our fundamental rights chapter talks of the equal treatment before the law, which means law must apply to everyone and the rule of law must prevail throughout the country. Now, does it prevail inside the universities or not? This is the question that has come up with ragging, because certainly a person cannot be subject to physical or mental harassment, torture, which in turn might have impact on them either short term or long term, or even result in them committing suicide. Secondly, the structure of the universities. Unfortunately, we had the same structure as we had in the University of Ceylon Act of 1942. While the law is being prepared, discussed and prepared, the administrative measures will be taken by the government. But I must also say, in fairness, while we make the law and we tell this to the Vice Chancellor administration, we have to back them up. We have to back them up with the funding that is needed to stop ragging. The students must have all the freedoms. We all had that in the students.
My short tenure as Minister of Higher Education, I feel the only way to tackle this problem is for the university community to stand together. The Vice Chancellors, the academics and the non-academics must take a stand against ragging and sexual and gender-based violence. I have not seen that happening during my short period as Minister of Higher Education. At this very moment, there is ragging going on in some universities. A statement a few days ago, if you go through that statement, 80% of the blame is on the Vice Chancellor and the administration. 20% blame on the students.
The dialogue is one of a series of consultation and training workshops scheduled for the next 10 days by the UGC.
A workshop on constitutional amendments was held in Batikzo today. The event was held under the auspices of leader of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress, Minister Rauf Hakim.
There is a certain shortcoming among the Tamil people. The Sri Lanka Muslim Congress recognizes this shortcoming. We have made our view clear on how all these issues which have been taken into consideration could be resolved. A consensus among the leadership of the minority communities, which are the Tamil National Alliance, Sri Lanka Muslim Congress and parties which represent the estate communities is important. We are in an era which we have to seriously think about this. If anyone in society believes in the myth that the executive presidential system is not suitable for the devolution of power, they should get rid of that. If anyone is under the impression that they are the force that decides on the government, they should get rid of that idea too.
Convening a media briefing in Mathura today, the United National Party commented on May Day and media freedom.
එක පැත්තකින් අද ජනතාවට දේශපාලන පක්ෂවලට
On one hand, because of the revolution we caused on the 8th of January and 17th of August, an environment has been created for the public and political parties to celebrate May Day in a democratic manner with no threats and issues. If we were still under the Mahinda Rajapaksa regime, we would have to celebrate May Day in an environment where political parties will be suppressed and the rights of trade unions taken away. The leaders of the joint opposition, who for 10 years could not fulfill their responsibilities on behalf of the sufferings of the people and only protected the benefits of a selected class, have no moral right to talk about a May Day. So I want to ask if the joint opposition is talking to the general public with their clothes on. If you look at all the democratic countries in the world, just as they have media freedom, there are certain injustices caused through the media, or if certain media violates media ethics, there are free and independent institutions established within the country to take action against them. So to make the media freedom in our country more meaningful, we believe that there should be institutions within our country too, which can accept such complaints and take the required decisions. This government has discussed this matter with all media in the country, and we intend to bring forth a set of rules to make this media freedom more meaningful. But this is just a thought only.
Staying on the topic of media freedom, Sri Lanka has moved up 24 positions in the World Press Freedom Index released by Reporters Without Borders. This year, Sri Lanka is ranked 141st out of 180 countries, whereas last year Sri Lanka was ranked 165th.
Sri Lanka makes the 141st rank in the index with a score of 44.96. The index has been topped by Finland, followed by Netherlands, Norway, Denmark and New Zealand. At the bottom of the index lies Eritrea at 180. It is preceded by North Korea, Turkmenistan, Syria and China at 179, 178, 177 and 176 respectively. According to Reporters Without Borders, it is a snapshot of the media freedom situation based on an evaluation of pluralism, independence of the media, quality of legislative framework and safety of journalists in each country. The degree of freedom available to journalists in 180 countries is determined by pooling the response of experts to a questionnaire devised by RSF. The qualitative analysis is combined by quantitative data on abuses and acts of violence against journalists during the period evaluated.
Addressing a media briefing held in Udugampola, Minuangoda, UPFA parliamentarian Prasanna Ranatunga expressed views on the May Day rally.
Today, members of the United People's Freedom Alliance who are in the Good Governance government are coming before the media and saying that if we love the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, we must attend the meeting in Galle. I make one request. If those ministers and MPs have any love towards the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, what they should be doing is to establish a government by appointing a Prime Minister from the SLFP. If you cannot do that, leave those posts and rally with us against this anti-democratic government.
In more local news tonight, senior political analyst and former diplomat Dr Don Jhethika says that if the executive presidency is abolished, President Maithripala Sirisena should be appointed as the next executive prime minister. Dr Jhethika made this statement while appearing on the Sitijaya program telecast on our sister channel Sirius TV last night.
If by any chance the executive presidency is abolished this time around, its executive powers will be handed down to an executive prime minister. If so, that executive prime minister should be President Maithripala Sirisena, because majority of the country's people appointed him by the public mandate. That responsibility and the executive powers were handed over to him, so he should be the one who gets the executive powers, shouldn't he? Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe tried to claim the executive powers, but couldn't. He always tried to be president. He tried in 2005 and lost twice. He won after fielding Maithripala Sirisena. Now he is trying to drive away Maithripala Sirisena and claim the powers which he did not triumph from the majority of the people. I do not know under what intention the former president is supporting this.
The third village of the Udagam program, organized under the Ministry of Housing and Construction, is scheduled to be declared open on the 24th of this month. A media briefing was held today in Colombo to create awareness on the housing project under the auspices of Minister Sajid Premadasa.
The village, which will be named Sankindagama, consists of 30 This is the third village of the Udagama program. We declared open 38 villages last year after the general elections. With pleasure, I'd state that within 6 months we were able to present the villages to the public. We hope to allocate state money to construct 200 villages this year. We will be naming these villages under state leaders of the past. We are hoping to build villages centered on media, indigenous medicine. We will also construct villages to widows without a shelter to live in. Are you planning to name a village under the President Mahinda Rajapaksa as well?
Oh, no. Hey.
Of course, yes. Why not? There's no problem in that. He was the president of Sri Lanka, not in any other country. He's the one who removed the boards and used temporary paints and put new boards for the housing projects my father proposed. We will not do such things.
Minister of Law and Order and Southern Development Sagal Ratnayaka says that the government intends on limiting the use of drugs to a minimum in the country by the year 2020. The minister made this statement while addressing the United Nations General Assembly in New York at the 30th special session on World Drug Problem yesterday.
The government reaffirms its political will and determination to tackle the drug problem locally and assist in this cause internationally by reviewing the existing national policy which was formulated more than a decade ago. The overall goal of the government in relation to the drug problem is an ambitious one: to reduce the drug supply and drug use to minimum levels by 2020. The Sri Lankan government's determination in law enforcement is highlighted recently by the detection of 110 kilograms of heroin trafficked by sea, where nationals from several countries were involved.
This special session will be an important milestone in achieving the goals set in the policy document of 2009, Political Declaration and Plan of Action of International Cooperation towards an integrated and balanced strategy to counter the world drug problem, which defined action to be taken by member states as well as goals to be achieved by 2019.
Welcome back to the news. Well, according to the police, a well-known criminal, Sumit Dayaratna, also known as Podisagara, has committed suicide by shooting himself in the head in Kubukgate, Ibbangamuwa. Police said that the suspect committed suicide during an operation led by the police and the special task force to arrest him.
The shooting incident was reported last night in the house located right behind me. An individual named Podisagara was the victim of the incident. I arrived at this location upon hearing about the incident. When I did my research, I was notified that the area residents did not associate with the people living in this house. I did not receive the opportunity to talk to the residents living in this house as they were being interrogated by police.
Police and Special Task Force personnel surrounded the house of the suspect at around 11 last night. According to our correspondent, the house belonged to a woman the suspect was having an affair with. Police say the suspect, who had attempted to flee when the police were surveilling the house from the outside, had shot himself in the head with a pistol. A 40-year-old resident of the Madhu area and Kadunayaka, Sumit Dayaratna alias Podisagara, had warrants against him in relation to 6 murders. Police say that the suspect is a contract killer. Sumit Dayaratna is also listed as an accused in the killing of 3 jailers and an inmate when shots were fired at a prison bus in Gampaha on the 26th of September 2005. According to our correspondent, reports emerged that locals in the area did not associate with the occupants of the residence the suspect killed himself in. Kurunegala Chief Magistrate Geethani Vijay Singer conducted the magisterial inquiry into the body earlier this evening.
Veteran film director, cinematographer and producer Dr DB Nihal Singer passed away today while receiving treatment at a private hospital.
Dr DB Nihal Singer was 77 years at the time of his demise. He was a past pupil of Ananda College, Colombo, and a graduate from the University of Peradeniya. Dr. DB Nihal Singer, who further grounded knowledge on his field from the motion pictures in America, used his expertise and was the pioneer producer of the Sinhala teledrama Dimuthu Muthu, which was the first colour teledrama to hit the Sri Lankan television. He was also the first chairman and general manager of the Sri Lanka Film Corporation and was the recipient of many international accolades. Maldeniye Simeon, produced by the late Nihal Singer in 1986, was awarded for the Best Acting and Best Screenplay at the Indian Film Festival. His productions such as Kelly Madala and several other movies bagged both international and local awards. Dr. Nihal Singer was also the first in Sri Lanka to produce Sri Lanka's first ever movie using cinemascope technology titled Valikatara. The movie was the second in South Asia to use this technology. Dr. DB Nihal Singer etched his name in Sri Lankan history as the pioneer to introduce TV commercials to Sri Lanka. He also served as a university lecturer. The final rites of Dr. DB Nihal Singer will take place at the Borala Public Cemetery this Sunday.
A Sri Lankan delegation which left for Pakistan to improve religious and cultural coexistence between the two countries met with Pakistan's President Mamnoon Hussain today.
The Mahasangha, including the Mahanayaka of the Court Kalyani Samagri Mahasangha Council, Most Venerable Ittapani Dhamma Lankatera, Anunayaka of the Malwata Chapter, Most Venerable Niyangoda Vijitasiddhi Thera, and President of the Mahabodhi Society of Sri Lanka, Venerable Banagala Upatissa Thera, attended this meeting. The delegation led by Speaker Karu Jayasuriya comprises of many other public representatives and diplomats. The presence of representative of the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited among this delegation is a significant factor.
There were several requests made. One was religious coexistence. Another was the maintenance of a temple that had been neglected at present but was carried out in order in the past. Other topics that were discussed were the protection of Buddhists to engage in pilgrimages as well as further strengthening the ties between the two countries. The President of Pakistan extended a warm welcome to the Sri Lankan delegation. He commended ties between the two nations that go back many years. The delegates were also briefed on the role of the officers at the Sri Lankan High Commission, which is seen right behind me. The Pakistani president also praised this endeavour. Today we are here at the Buddhist Center in Islamabad. This place functions only once a year. We thought on how this needs to be protected and be taken forward. We visited the Pakistani Ministry of Religious Affairs. We held discussions which proved to be successful. The Mahabodhi Society of Sri Lanka will take over the responsibility and continue with the task.
As part of Ontario's phase-out of coal energy and commitment to a clean energy economy, Ontario's power generation are developing a 44-megawatt solar facility on and near the Nanticoke generation station site on Lake Erie.
At one time, the Nanticoke generating station was producing a staggering 4,000 megawatts of energy and was one of the country's largest greenhouse gas emitters. The plant was officially decommissioned in 2013, part of a long process to shutter all coal-fired plants in the province, a goal that was accomplished in 2014. The facility, located in Haldimand County on 4 separate parcels of land, including a former coal pile, is expected to generate 44 megawatts and utilize the transmission wires already in place. The plant's capacity is just a little over 1% of the some 4,000 megawatts the former coal plant used to generate, but it's part of Ontario's larger effort to replace coal with renewable energy sources. System ecologist Professor Ranil Senanayake says this step needs to be taken as an example by Sri Lanka to minimize environmental pollution caused by current coal power plants.
The whole question about large power plants, depending on really dangerous fuels like coal, has become an international concern. These large companies have decided to turn their power production into sustainable methods of production. They're getting away from fossil because the whole world is now basically against the use of fossil fuels because it creates climate change. Even in Sri Lanka, we know how hot it was, unusually, and it's going to get worse. So to be asking to be creating coal-fired power plants in this day and age is totally absurd. And what is absurd also in the face of the fact that right now there are 3 countries who are offering us solar power. Some of them are offering to come here, the companies, and build it on their own accord, using their own capital, and giving us 700 megawatts of power. The electricity board and the ministry and the people who are in charge must take these offers seriously. They can't go with the old poisonous coal. So this is a good example that we have seen now that's happening in the world.
Well, that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Ramesh Irugal Bandara.
And I'm Rahna Farooq. Thank you for watching. Have a pleasant night.